Hey everybody in St. Louis. We want to thank everybody for following our YouTube channel. And even though we're in the thick of the Halloween season, and there is no more Cardinal baseball, unfortunately. I know people love the team and they love watching baseball in October. What is better than watching baseball in St. Louis in October? But you can't watch baseball in October because the Cardinals did make the playoffs for the second year in a row. And we wanted to talk about that because there's a lot of pundits in St. Louis with little YouTube channels and podcasts, and they tell you all the fake rumors, and they tell you what they think the Cardinals are or aren't going to do. But we love St. Louis. And I'm in the darkness, and I'm just a stone's throw away from Busch Stadium, because the darkness and St. Louis Escape, where I happen to be standing right now, is literally on the same street as the St. Louis Cardinals baseball stadium. And many years, we would dread the Cardinals getting into the World Series because the city loves the team so much that if they were playing on TV, they might not come to the haunted house. Now we don't really have that problem because they haven't been very good in a long time. But I remember one year when the Cardinals were in the World Series and the haunted house was open on the same night. I actually made an excuse to go to Walmart and leave the haunted house so I could see the last two innings of the game, because this is before you could stream on your phone or anything. So trust me when I tell you, I love the St. Louis Cardinals. I would love to see the city get an NBA team. I think our city leaders need to think bigger, and they need to figure out why St. Louis as a community is not growing. I think it's because we're not being ambitious. We're not going for it. We've got this big, ugly spot right next to the Dome that could be a brand new arena. We got all this money from Stan Kroenke. Let's put it to use to build a world-class arena and try to attract NCAA sporting events and try to attract maybe the WNBA or the NBA. Do it, build it, and they will come type of mentality. But even if that doesn't work, have a facility that's open year-round. Every date is open for concerts and events, which isn't the case with our other arena because the Blues occupy so many of the dates. So I think St. Louis needs to think bigger and more ambitious, and I love St. Louis. So today we're going to talk a little bit about a theory that I have. I believe the St. Louis Cardinals will be for sale within 18 months. And I'm going to tell you why. The ownership group, the main owner of this team, is over 80 years old. And I'm sure that at some point, they've started to do estate planning. A lot of times when an owner has a lot of kids, they can't agree on owning the team, not owning the team. So, hey, we're going to sell the team. It's going to be part of the estate planning. And I believe that this team is for sale, and I'll tell you why. It's not for sale yet, but this same DeWitt family has owned three other teams: the Reds, the Rangers, and the Baltimore Orioles. In each one of those cases, they got the city to help fund for stadium renovations / brand new stadiums. And then once those cities got those renovations, they sold their interests in those teams and moved on to another team. And then ultimately, they ended up with the best deal in the history of sports. They bought the St. Louis Cardinals from the Busch family, who desperately wanted to sell it because they the son really didn't like the team and wanted to focus on beer and their theme parks and wanted to offload the Cardinals, which was a big mistake. I think he sold the team to the DeWitts for $150 million, which included a bunch of parking lots, which the DeWitt family, I believe, then flipped for about $90 million. So essentially, they bought this team for about $50 or $60 million. Now, Forbes ranks this team or values this team at about $2.4 billion. And the reason why it's worth so much is because of the fans. That means you. the people that live here in St. Louis. Now, I'm not going to sit on here and bash on the DeWitts because I don't agree with their business model, which I believe is the Cardinals need to make a profit for the owners. I think they've already made a profit because they bought the team essentially for $50 million, and now the team's worth $2.4 billion. You would think that the Cardinals, with these amazing fans that push the attendance over 3 million annually, could spend $200 million, could spend $220 million, like the Padres have done. But no, they won't. They won't go over a certain threshold. So when you won't go over a certain threshold, when you make a free agent mistake, they're not willing to spend their way out of it like the Yankees and the Dodgers. And I get it. The Yankees and the Dodgers get a lot more TV revenue. But I don't even want to hear it from this ownership group because this team is worth $2.4 billion and you paid like pennies out of your pocket for the team. So you have become a billionaire just by buying the team. Now, I know that you've built a stadium, kudos to you, and you've been involved in the ballpark village, kudos to you. But that is part of why this team is worth $2.4 billion. So you could sell this team right now and you're going to make more money than you could ever spend, okay? So what the Cardinals, I believe, were planning was to go to the city and the state and they said they floated the idea of $500 to $600 million to renovate Busch Stadium, a stadium that was literally only built 15, 16 years ago. Why does it need $500 to $600 million in publicly financed money to enhance it? And the only thing they would tell you on the enhancements were they were internal, so it wouldn't enhance the fan experience at all. It would just, things that they needed to do. And so I think they met a lot of resistance on that, and they quickly learned, well, hey, the team is not good, and the fans are not happy with the ownership group. They're probably not going to get the $500 to $600 million that they wanted. And the reason why I think they were asking for it, because they wanted to get that money in hand to do the renovations, as they have done 3 other times before, to say to a new owner, we don't want $2.4 billion, we want $3 billion because we just put $500 million. We did all the heavy lifting. We got the city to agree to all this money and all this renovation. So we want $3 billion for the whole package. That's what I really think was their plan. And so once that, they started to realize there was a lot of resentment for that. They realized, well, I don't think it's going to work. So what would be plan B? Plan B is you see the attendance plummeting. So how do you explain this to a new owner that you want them to pay $2 to $3 billion for this team, where they claim that they're the best fans in baseball, they support the team no matter what, and now they're not doing it? Well, what better way than to clean the deck? Scrub the deck clean. If you look at the tea leaves here, Mozeliak, the most unpopular man in St. Louis right now, and why is he the most unpopular man in St. Louis? Well, it's obvious, because now they want to say we didn't invest in the farm system, and you got people like Bernie Miklasz ranting and raving because of some lady named Katie Wu, who did a story about all the internal problems of the farm system. Look, way overblown, okay? Because the Cardinals have probably hit percentage-wise better than most teams in Major League Baseball, because it's really, no one knows for sure when you draft a player, are they going to be any good or not. The Cardinals have hit on a lot of players. The problem isn't that the farm system isn't developing good players. It's that John Mozeliak can't evaluate them properly, and he decides to trade away the ones that are really good and keeps the ones that turn out not to be that good. And when you think about all the players they let go or traded, you've probably lost the city at least one World Series. Well, now, why would I say that? Because you made a trade for Ozuna. You got fleeced in that deal, not only because you gave away 2 Cy Young award-winning level pitchers for Ozuna, and you brought Ozuna in, and he didn't really do fantastic here, but then you didn't re-sign him. He went to the Braves, and he essentially became an MVP, which makes no sense. But the Marlins told you they wouldn't give you Yelich, and you actually believe that they would not part with Yelich, but they literally made their trade with you for Ozuna and then turned right around and traded Yelich. So they literally gaslighted John Mozeliak. And would we have won a World Series or been really competitive with some of the best years of Yelich? I would say yes. Okay, he was absolutely an MVP player, and he was doing fantastic this year until he had another unfortunate injury. So you traded away Adolis Garcia. What did he do in Texas? He hit 39 home runs, and he won a World Series. You traded away Lane Thomas. You barely gave him a chance. He went to a mediocre Washington team. He batted .286 and hit 29 home runs. You literally trade away O'Neill for nothing, and what does he do? He goes to the Boston Red Sox, and he hits basically 30 home runs. You traded away Tommy Edelman, who is probably your best defensive player and probably the most popular player on the team, and you traded him away for, basically a pitcher that nobody wanted. It didn't change the dynamic of the team. It was probably one of the worst trades ever. But really, the worst trade of all was when you gave away Sandy Alcantara, who did win the Cy Young, and Zach Gallen, who literally came in second in the Cy Young and literally took his team to the World Series. And let's not even forget the Randy Rosarona trade. He literally became a World Series MVP, had Tampa won the World Series. He literally took Tampa on his back. Like, you're just very terrible at evaluating which players to keep and which ones to trade. And then when you bring Jordan Walker up and then you send him down, you bring him up, and literally you brought him up the last time only for like 3 days, and then you brought him right back up. Your decision-making with young players is terrible. And if you think about it, the only reason why the Cardinals are really good and won 2 World Series because we had a guy named Jeff Lewandowski who literally left the Cardinals, went to the Astros, and created a dynasty. So I think we give too much credit to John Mozeliak because he had a really good guy here named Jeff Lewandowski, who built a dynasty in Houston, and then John Mozeliak proved that I didn't really know what I was doing. I look at all the horrible free agent signings, not even just the horrible free agent signings, but what is the deal with giving washed-up veterans like Carpenter was doing absolutely awful. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe he'll do better if I give him a giant contract where he's making $20 million a year. Like, why? What did you do that for? What did you extend Miles Mikolas for? He's an average or below average pitcher when you gave him the extension. You make bad free agent signings, you make bad trades, and this is why the Cardinals are in the mess they're in. So why do I think the Cardinals are for sale? Because as bad as John Mozeliak has done, the Cardinals have not fired him because they're all getting out at the same time. I don't understand why the Bernie Miklases and all these other Cardinal podcasts, Locked On Cardinals, can't see the tea leaves on this. They're all buddies. They're all getting out together. I think they've now put John Mozeliak in charge of a complete scrubbing the decks. And everybody's trying to figure out what would their payroll be? Look, they're talking like Sonny Gray doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. Nolan doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. Contreras, this is what he signed up for. So if you're going to trade Contreras is $18 million, you're going to trade what you have to pay Nolan Arenado, which is probably $25 million a year, and you're going to get rid of that, and you're going to trade away, because everybody knows you're going to trade away Helsley, because you're going to get good prospects for him, because he's going to jump from about $4 million to probably about $8 million, and you're going to trade him away. You traded away Tommy Edelman's $8 million. You'll probably keep Fetty only because if he stays healthy, he would bring you some really good prospects at the trade deadline, and he makes $8 million. And you get rid of Sonny Gray, you get rid of Nolan Arenado, you're not going to re-sign Goldie. What would be the point of re-signing either Gibson or Lynn? This is a complete rebuild. They call it a retool because the only thing these owners care about is making a profit off the Cardinals. Now, they do have some problems with their TV deal. I get it. And so they're going to try to launch their own network. They probably want to get that in order over the next year. So when they sell the team, they can say, well, here's where our TV revenue is. And basically, in my opinion, they're calling it a retool because they're saying, hey, we have a lot of exciting young players. No, you don't. No, you don't. The owner literally said, we have a lot of exciting players. Name one. Win. This is a guy, okay, I'm not saying he's not a good shortstop. He is, but this guy's not going to hit 30 home runs. He doesn't steal at all. I don't know why. He seems like he's fast, but he doesn't steal. He's just going to be a good shortstop, okay? This is not a superstar. At least you're not seeing superstar. And Jordan Walker, we haven't seen any signs of a superstar. We're only told he can. I mean, there is no exciting young players in this team, not that you've seen so far. There's nothing to build around. Nootbaar is probably the most overrated player in the history of in modern Cardinal history because they keep playing him off as like the next whatever. And he's never on the field. He's always injured. And even when he's on the field, he's not doing anything spectacular. And so if you ask me, they're literally going to not sign Gibson, not sign Lynn. They're going to try to trade away Gray. They're going to try to trade away Contreras and Nolan Arenado. So if you trade all those guys away, of course you're going to trade away Helsley. Of course. Okay? So you're going to basically clean and scrub the deck for the next owner. So they're literally, in my opinion, they're giving Mozeliak the task of clearing the deck for the next owner. So even if you can't trade away Matz and you can't trade away Miles, who, if you add up their payroll combined, you're talking about nearly right at $30 million. So that's another $30 million that will come off the books next year, and you don't re-sign these free agents and you trade away all these other guys, you're going to be looking at 2026 when Mozeliak says, I'm stepping down. Well, I think he's stepping down, and the Cardinals then will announce they're for sale. And they're going to say to the next owner, well, the reason why the attendance for the best fans in baseball isn't 3 million, whether they win or lose, is because we are rebuilding the infrastructure. We're rebuilding the farm system that it literally has actually produced a lot of stars. But just Mo traded them all away. But we're rebuilding the farm system. We invested in a bunch of technology. We broke ground and bought a bunch of equipment, which, by the way, all of these things and hiring all these extra people that make 200 grand, 250 grand, don't even total up to just Lance Lynn, okay? So there is no reason to cut all this payroll, okay? You could just literally say, well, Lance Lynn's it, so we won't re-sign him. No, but that's not what they're doing. They're literally planning to trade away all of the expensive vets, and they should. They actually should, even if they were going to keep the team, because these guys are not getting you to the World Series. They're not going to get you to the playoffs. You're a mile and then some from the playoffs. And if the Cardinals embrace this whole mentality of, no, we have to build from the farm system, well, that doesn't work. Look at the National League. The Padres, the Phillies, the Dodgers. These are the teams that are in the Final Four round, right? The Padres, the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Mets, okay? These are 4 of like the 8 highest spending teams in baseball. Is it a coincidence, right? And when we look on the other side, who do we see over there? We see the Yankees, of course. They're the second or the first highest spending team every single time. Rebuilding and trying to do this $110 million payroll thing, it's like an acorn, okay? Every once in a while, you're going to get a team that literally springs up like the Royals. The Royals have been terrible for 10 years, and all of a sudden they're good. Well, guess what they did? They outspent the Cardinals in free agency in 2024, and they barely made the playoffs. Good for them, but they've suffered through 10 years of being terrible. The Orioles were terrible for like literally 15 years. Now they're good, but they can't win a playoff game. Look, in baseball, you have to spend to win. It's just that simple. They want to talk about Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay. Well, guess what? Tampa Bay's never done in their whole history of their team. They've never won a World Series. Okay, they don't spend. They probably never win a World Series because they don't spend any money. You have to literally be 90% right for this formula to work. And Mo clearly is not good enough to do that. You look at the Astros, they built the team through the farm system, but then they plugged in all the holes with free agents. The Astros have been literally a dynasty over the last 5 years, but they're one of the top spending teams, period. The Cardinals aren't, in my opinion, trying to rebuild this team to be a World Series contender. They're trying to rebuild the farm system. They're trying to literally hand it off to the next owner. That's what I really believe, because they're not going to get the money from the city to do the renovation and that to be the big selling point. Now the big selling point is, well, the fans aren't there. Well, that's because we're retooling and rebuilding, and we've done all that just for you. Now you have this like young, smart general manager who used to be part of the Tampa Bay Rays, and you as the new owner can pick whatever direction you want. And one of the directions from a billionaire who sees the team as a toy, like buying a $500 million yacht, you can come in and you can spend all the money you want on free agency. You could get the attendance right back to 3 million if you want to, and everything's good in the world. So this is why I think the team will be for sale, because John Mozeliak has been such a disaster with his decision making, with the money the Cardinals are willing to spend, and he has traded away like every good player the Cardinals have had that they have brought up through their system. Any normal owner would have already fired this guy, but no, they're going out together. John Mozeliak literally was so smug at the press conference that they had, and he literally said right off the bat, well, you're stuck with me. And I thought that was pretty rude of him to say. Pretty ridiculous, considering how these fans have supported this team and given their heart and soul and their hard-earned money to this ownership group, only for him to say something so ridiculous. And then he made it a point to grab the microphone. Hey, just so you know, payroll's going down. It's like almost like a parting shot out the door. I just didn't like that. I don't think the fans are going to like it, and I don't think the Cardinals are going to do very good on season tickets. I think that next year, maybe 1.2 million will actually attend a game, and maybe they sell total 1.8 million tickets, somewhere in that range, 1.8 to 1.9 million tickets. And you know who's really going to suffer is the city of St. Louis, because a lot of those businesses rely on people coming downtown, and they're just not going to do it. The Cardinals aren't going to bring them. That's why I'm hoping the soccer team can go out there and spend some money. But St. Louis, I don't think it's all bleak, because I really do think the Cardinals are going to be for sale. It's one of the most iconic teams in all of baseball. All of baseball. And so I think some super rich billionaire is going to step in and buy this team. And the last thing I want to see is some conglomerate like the Blues did, where it's a whole bunch of city business owners like all pulling some money together to buy the team. I don't want to see that, because I want to see one owner. I want to see one responsible person for this team. I want to see some mega billionaire come in here, because I'm not worried about them moving the Cardinals like a football team, what happened with the Rams. Nobody's going to move the Cardinals, and I don't think Major League Baseball would ever let anybody move the team. I mean, look how long Oakland was in the Coliseum, literally the worst stadium. It's a third world country stadium. It's a stadium that in any other city but Oakland would have been torn down 30 years ago, and they still wouldn't let the A's leave. And now everybody wants to blame the A's owner. Why are you blaming the A's owner? Everybody's left Oakland. The basketball team, the football team, now the baseball team. But now all of a sudden it's the baseball owner's fault. The city has a stadium that literally needs to be bulldozed and blown up like 20 years ago, and you're blaming the owner. No, I don't think that's not how it works. But my point to this is, look how long baseball let the A's die in Oakland before they finally said, fine, you can move to Las Vegas. They don't let teams move very easily in Major League Baseball, and I think the crown jewel of baseball is the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cardinals, the Red Sox, and the Cubs. I think these are their top 5 brands. They're not going to let the Cardinals leave. So whatever owner comes in, you've got a nice stadium, you've got this ballpark village. Hey, my payroll is $48 million, and all I need to do now is put a really smart guy in charge, which they say is this Chaim Bloom, and we've got this great farm system now. So now I can go out and I can just go crazy, spend money. I think this would be great for St. Louis because, I mean, wouldn't it be great? And I know I'm getting a little crazy here, but what if, just what if, somebody like Jeff Bezos, and I know that's a long shot, but maybe he wants to own a baseball team. You're not going to own the Yankees. You're not going to own the Dodgers. You're not going to own the Cubs, right? Hey, let me own one of the most iconic teams in the history of baseball, the team that's won 11 World Series, second most just to the Yankees. This will be a lot of fun. I want to do something. I've got so much money, I don't know what to do with it. Let me go over here and buy the Cardinals. That would be good for the city of St. Louis because you know what happened probably next? He'd fall in love with the city. All of a sudden, he's moving a bunch of Amazon jobs or building a satellite office. And, you know, these would be good things for St. Louis. And so I'm actually looking forward to the Cardinals being for sale. I just don't think the DeWitt family, with all the complexities of having everything that goes along with capital gains and everything that borrowing money to keep the team. I think the team is in estate planning mode and the Cardinals will be for sale. And I think they were going to put it for sale after they got the money, fleece the city for money to upgrade the stadium. They know they're not going to get that. So plan B is to drop the payroll down to nothing and literally hand deliver to the next owner and say, well, you could have it all back in 10 minutes because you have a clean slate. That's what I think is going on with the Cardinals. And what do I think the Cardinals are going to do? I think they're going to trade away Sonny Gray. They're going to trade away Contreras. They're going to trade away Nolan Arenado. They're not going to re-sign Goldie. They're not going to re-sign Gibson or Lynn. Why would you? You don't need them. You might as well keep Miles, Mikolas, and Matz. There's one starter. That's 2 starters. You got Fetty. That's a 3rd starter that you could trade at the deadline. And then you bring up 2 kids. When you got the one kid that did really good this year, there's your 4th starter. And you let the rest of the farm system fight it out for this 5th spot. And I think that's what they're going to do. That's going to be the rotation. I think the Cardinals, I've heard this one group, and they've got this website called Redbird Rants, and they said, oh, yeah, we still think the Cardinals will win 84 games. No, I don't think they're going to win 84 games. I think they're probably going to win 65 to 75 games probably next year, just because, you know, in pro baseball, even the worst team can beat the best team, which doesn't happen in football. But it does happen in baseball, okay? And I think that they're probably going to be a 65 to 70 win team. They'll be in the top 10 for the draft. They're not going to be in the top 10 in the draft this year, which is good because you can't be in the top 10 on the MLB draft for X amount of years in a row. So that's good because they're going to tank and they're going to get they're going to have a shot at get the number 1 pick. I mean, look how that worked out for the Pirates. They got Skeens, okay? You want to be near the top. You want to put your money that you're not putting in the MLB roster into signing these high-priced, high draft picks. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think the next owner probably comes in and he's owning the team starting with the 2026 season, and he's going into 2026 free agency, and he can make a decision based on his baseball people saying, here's where our farm system is, here's where we think we can be, here's the free agents we might be able to sign. And I think they go out and get a home run hitting outfielder or first baseman. They go out there and get a guy who can throw 250 strikeouts, and they splurge and they get the fans excited and the fans come right back. That's what I think is going to happen. Leave your comments below and tell me what you think. Do you think I'm wrong? I think I'm right because the owner's like 82 years old. And we've seen this many times before. Look at the Denver Broncos. The kids can't figure out how they sell the team. Look at the St. Louis Rams. when Georgia Frontier died, she had 2 kids. We don't really want to own a football team. We really don't have the money to pay all the capital gains and everything else. So we're going to sell the team. And they sold it to Stan Kroenke, and the rest is history. This is not the first time that an 82-year owner might actually start planning for the next generation of Cardinal owners. I think this is actually exciting because we might get an owner who is absolutely so filthy rich, because don't forget, $2.4 billion in cash is what you're going to have to pay. There's a lot of people that say they're worth $2 billion, but that doesn't mean they have $2 billion. They have assets, stocks. They don't have $2 billion in cash. So whoever buys this team is going to have to come up with $2 to $3 billion in cash. There's not a lot of people in the world, or much less the United States, that have that kind of cash. So I think the next owner of the Cardinals could want to buy an iconic sports team. And buying the Cardinals for, say, $2.3 billion is a value when you consider the lowest valued team in the NFL right now is over $5 billion. So yeah, I want to get in the sports business. It'd be a lot of fun. I own a bunch of Ferraris. I own a bunch of houses. This will be a lot of fun. And it could be good for the city of St. Louis, because you might get an owner who doesn't care if the Cardinals break even. Let's put every penny it makes into winning. That's my thought. Leave your comments. Tell me what you think. And Halloween is here, and we're doing videos. We're going to try to stay engaged, and we're just going to do videos about anything and everything that's happening around St. Louis, especially things that are involving horror. And I can tell you, one of the videos we have coming up is we're doing the real story of The Exorcist, because for those who don't know, The Exorcist happened in St. Louis, the real Exorcist. So we're going to document all of the history behind that, visit some graves of some people who were involved, go to the locations, go to the original house, which is still around today. When people think of The Exorcist, they think of Linda Blair. They think of the movie. It was actually a boy, and it didn't happen in Georgetown, Virginia. It actually happened right here in St. Louis, Missouri. So we're going to make that video, and we're going to make a lot of other videos, and then we're going to keep making videos for people who love Halloween. So thanks for supporting the haunted house. And I hate to say it, but the Cardinals are out of the playoffs. I'm very upset about that. But you can come downtown and celebrate Halloween with us right here at the Darkness, or come and visit us here at St. Louis Escape, or go to Creepy World, or the Haunting of Lemp Brewery. We're here, we're waiting for you, and we care about St. Louis, and we're just offering our opinions. Tell us what you think. And right here at the pinball room at St. Louis Escape, we just got a new pinball machine, the Uncanny X-Men. And this pinball game is really fun, really exciting. So come on down here to St. Louis Escape, play pinball, retro mini golf, or our escape rooms. And we have 2 new escape rooms coming. We have an alien escape room and a mystery theme. And hopefully they're both gonna open in the January, February range. So be ready for that. And let us know what you think about this vlog, and tell us about some other videos you think we should make, because we'd be happy to. Until then, happy Halloween.